All right, Marcus, let's think back for a moment to a time that we probably blacked out, meaning we were so overwhelmed in the moment, we had no sleep, we were running on basically empty because we were caring for a newborn.
Yeah, I have a 15 and a 13-year-old now at home, and we had them just across the street here at Riverside. And I remember that first day with the first one of coming home, thinking to myself, what are they doing? Saying, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I have to go home and raise this kid with just my wife and I.
There's no manual.
No manual. And it was exciting and scary and all of those things. But I think you have no choice. You have to figure it out.
You have to just do it, and your instinct is everything.
Yep.
But luckily, more and more families and people and women are talking about this time when you bring home a new baby, and it's become known as the fourth trimester. You have 3 trimesters when you're pregnant, and now the fourth trimester is when a woman is recovering physically, emotionally, mentally, and we are finally at a place where there's resources and support for women, and we're moving in the right direction.
We have a great guest to talk about that, but before we meet our guests, we're asking you, make sure you're liking, rating, and subscribing this podcast. We are watching our numbers grow each and every week, and we're really excited about that. But one of the ways that we can keep track of that is if you're subscribing to our podcast, and then when it gets shared, it lets other people join the conversation as well. Of course, if you have any questions about what we're talking about, you can drop them in the comments. We get them to our experts and get those answered and turned around for you. So it is a two-way conversation.
Yes.
It's not just us having a conversation without you part of that conversation.
Absolutely. All right, let's introduce our guest today, Dr. Jessica Tucker, who is part of, you're leading the new Fourth Trimester Clinic at OhioHealth. So Dr. Tucker, thanks so much for being with us today, and explain what you specialize in, because this is what's really important.
Yeah, so I'm a family doctor. I'm a family medicine physician. I trained here at OhioHealth at Grant, and then went on to subspecialize in lactation medicine. So I have a few different hats within the organization. I see patients as a family medicine doctor still, which is very important to me. I'm very passionate about holistic family care. I also am the medical director of our milk bank, the OhioHealth Mother's Milk Bank, and we serve and support babies with pasteurized donor milk in Ohio and some surrounding states. And then I also am a part of our fourth trimester program at OhioHealth, and specifically within that role, I am a lactation medicine specialist, which is exciting. So lactation medicine has been something that physicians have been excited about and have recognized as valuable, and just recently in 2023 was part of the first round of board candidates to become board certified in lactation medicine. So I am part of a team, just as in any other subspecialty, just like orthopedic surgeons have physical therapists and athletic trainers. In the lactation medicine and fourth trimester world, we're a team too. We have nurses and lactation consultants and perinatal psychiatry, and we all work together to support the birth parent and the baby, and kind of come at the family with support from a multidisciplinary, comprehensive way. So I do lactation medicine, and specifically my passion and expertise is in supporting families who need kind of a medical layer to their lactation journey.
You're probably, if you're listening right now, you're probably thinking, what? This exists? Like the first time I heard of it, I couldn't believe it. And I thought, gosh, I wish I knew you or had you when I had my kids. I mean, do you think the same thing? It's just so newly created. I can't believe we're finally here.
Yeah. People say sometimes, they're like, gosh, where were you when I had my first kid? And I think, where was I when I had my first kid? Because I did not know what I know now 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And we are all on a journey of becoming what we hope to be as parents and who we want to be as we support our families. And we are all learning as we go, and we're all learning along the way from various inputs in our own journeys.
It's so amazing to work at OhioHealth and to hear these terminologies that I think if I didn't work here, and for people who are listening maybe had no idea, is that the terminology of fourth trimester is something that we've been using recently, but it's not like we shouldn't have been thinking about the fourth trimester all along. It's just kind of that trimester that people just, I had my baby and now I'm just getting on with my life. Talk about what the fourth trimester really is so people understand it.
So the fourth trimester is, I think the word that comes to mind is vulnerable. It's vulnerable for everybody, for the birth parent. There's a lot of risk involved, physically, emotionally, for the baby as well, and for the support parents as well. We know that postpartum depression isn't just limited to the birthing parent. Entire families can be impacted by this. And so fourth trimester care really is about wrapping multiple layers of support around a family by understanding who that family is, where they're at, what they need, and really providing individualized care to that family to help them feel successful and proud of what they're doing as they're supporting and raising their young family.
Vulnerable is a great way to describe that. Let's talk about what the Fourth Trimester Clinic is. What does it look like? Where is it? And when did this start?
Yeah, so the Fourth Trimester Clinic is in Dublin through OhioHealth. We actually have had some smaller clinics open for a few years, but the Dublin office specifically opened in, you have to check me on this. I think it was July of 24. We just came across our year mark.
Wow.
Please edit that. And we started as I was there a half day a week, and our amazing nurse practitioner, who also specializes in lactation medicine and family medicine as well, she was there a half day a week. And as we've grown, we have onboarded a perinatal psychiatrist, Dr. Kilbarger, who is phenomenal. And we work very closely with different hospitals' lactation consultant teams. So depending on, what the family comes to our program with, if they've already been seen, at Pickerington or Riverside or Dublin lactation consultant offices, we work closely with that group of lactation consultants to continue to provide care that's close to home and convenient for the patient.
I have to just quickly say for a second how amazing that team of lactation consultants is, because having my second daughter, I was really worried it was the formula shortage, and my son had been a formula baby. I couldn't produce enough milk, so I went to the classes at Dublin Methodist, and I remembered it worked, and Cora was exclusively breastfed, but I remember getting a call from them one day, maybe 8 weeks after she was born. And they said, hey, it's the lactation team. We're checking in to see how you're doing. I'm like, well, we're doing it. We're doing the thing. And then they started celebrating on the phone, cheering. I'm like, these people are so happy for me, but they don't even really know me. But I don't know. I say that to say, hashtag not an ad. It's true. These lactation consultants are amazing. They really work wonders.
The OhioHealth lactation consultant teams are incredible. Everybody is so passionate about supporting families with what they need, with individualized, tailored care. And it's not just a job. This is something that, we think about in the evenings when we're at our families' soccer games. I wonder how this patient's doing. I wonder how this family's doing. I wonder, and we really care a lot about our families. And so to have that follow through, as a primary care doctor, I'm all about the longitudinal care. I want to know how things went. Our lactation teams feel the same way. They're very passionate, and, even if they don't reach out to the patient necessarily, oftentimes they're reaching out to me. Hey, how's this family? How's it going? I know you've seen them a couple times, since I've seen them. And as we work back and forth, we both sides, we care a lot.
And they get a bad rap, I think, because I remembered when I was getting ready to have my first, I heard, horror stories from other women who were the lactation consultant was really pushy with me, or this or that, not here, a different state where I was living at the time. And I was just thinking, gosh, is that going to be the case for me? Am I going to know what to do? And I had heard these horror stories. And I think the new approach is making women feel seen, feel heard. And if the milk supply is not there, it's not there. Fed is best, right?
I think there are a lot of points that you brought up in that. One is you said the word pushy, which does not belong in any healthcare setting, let alone, women's health and the birthing space, and in the fourth trimester space. So something that is so important to me and our team, and I hope, as we move forward as a society, our entire healthcare system is eliminating that word pushy and working to understand the goals of our family, working to flex ourselves, our norms, our routines and expectations to be able to, from an evidence-based standpoint, meet families where they're at and give them the care that they need. I think the word pushy also kind of gets to something else that is so important in the fourth trimester space. And we talk a lot about a village. That's a word we say probably twice a day at least in our office. And it's important to have a village. It's also important to have a good village and a supportive village. And, a lot of families come to me and say, hey, this didn't go well with whoever it may be, whether it's a friend or an in-law or a parent or anything like that. And I think it's important that we're not just talking about the fourth trimester while families are in the fourth trimester, but we're talking about the fourth trimester for people who are past menopause and maybe are grandparents and are getting ready to support their 20 or 30-something-year-old children entering the fourth trimester, and not just having this conversation when new parents are in turmoil, but having this conversation preconception or during pregnancy, and having conversations about how do you plan to feed your baby? Who do you want to be in the room when you birth? Who do you want to be in the room during labor? Do you want visitors in the hospital, or do you want to wait for visitors? Have you had that conversation? Do you feel supported in that conversation? Because people don't realize how much feeling like a hostess sometimes moms can feel, and how stressful that can be. And that's the catch-22 with lactation, is when you're really, really stressed, it can jeopardize breastfeeding in a really remarkable and significant way. And so part of the fourth trimester movement, may I say, because really that's what we're trying to create. It's not just care for families. It is care for families, but really this is about building a network of norm, building a new culture that supports the entire village that's supporting the family.
Yeah. It's kind of a mindset shift because, the traditional way, or the way that everybody did it for decades and decades and decades, while for some people that works and you can lean into that, for others in this newer generation, they want say in what they get and what they want and what they need and those kind of things. And I think that's a very positive way to think of things. Yeah. And so if you're a supporter or a partner or a grandparent, you need to flex with the new parent, because it's about them and their baby and their family, not necessarily the way that you did it 6 decades ago. So I think changing that mindset helps everybody in the long run.
Gently said, when we know better, we do better. And you can't just say that to somebody who's really passionate about something in the moment. But that's why we need to have these conversations now, when they're not passionate and heated in the moment and under the influence of feelings, because
under the influence of feelings. I love that.
True.
That's well said.
Grandparents love them. Sometimes they want to be in the room when baby's born, and that might not be the very best thing for the parent, and that certainly won't be the very best thing for the baby. And so trying to shift our perspective to a supportive, pouring yourself out to the individual. Some of my friends are becoming grandparents now.
No way.
That's crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah.
My little girl asked me the other day, she said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, a grandma. I really want to be a grandma someday. But so as I'm watching my dearly loved friends become grandparents, I'm watching from a different perspective, what they're seeing as they're supporting their children becoming parents. And they've all done an amazing job of understanding what their children need as they become parents and giving that space. And, you know, I sometimes I just want to say it's not about holding the baby first. To some families, like, get in there and do their dishes, man. Do the laundry.
Yes.
Cook a meal. Right.
That parent really wants to be with their baby.
Right.
And that parent might feel sad sharing their baby right away. You know,
Yes.
they are sleep deprived, they're emotional, they're scared. And, you know, for the support around this family, whatever relationship that is, you know, I hope that people are learning as social media is influencing young families that the village really does look like showing up to the house to fold some laundry and maybe not even hold the baby, and being okay with that, and you know, exuding joy that you can still support a family and support a new.
It's a great way to think about things. We knew this topic would be really popular with our listeners and our friends on social media, so we did get quite a few questions from our Ohio Health social media channels. Our first one is about breastfeeding, and we knew, Dr. Tucker, you'd be a great person to talk about this. Is my baby getting all the benefits even though I can only pump instead of exclusively breastfeeding?
I think that's such a good question, and as a family medicine doc, I'm going to change the question a little bit because, of course, we want to maximize benefits for baby, but we have to remember, too, that there are a lot of benefits to the parent who's breastfeeding when they're making milk. So breastfeeding reduces your risk of breast cancer. It reduces your risk of ovarian cancer. It reduces the risk of obesity and diabetes. And so there are a lot of benefits to the dyad, the mom and the baby. And so as you know, I identify as a mom, want to be selfless, and I want to support my children with all that I am, they also have to have a mom who has a full cup and is taking care of herself. And so sometimes wellness doesn't look like getting your nails done or going to the salon. Sometimes wellness looks like making choices for yourself that reduce your risk down the road. Things like going for a walk after dinner. You know, those are all choices that lead towards wellness, and breastfeeding is one of those things too. So from an infant standpoint, pumped milk is very good for the infant gut. Part of, you know, milk banking is using extra pumped milk, whether that's from a mom who has extra milk, or that may be from a bereaved mom who's lost her child and continues to pump in order to honor the life of her child. Breast milk, I get chills talking about this, really is something that goes kind of beyond just nutrition. You know, there's thinking about the legacy of a bereaved donor.
I know.
Sharing their milk for a fragile NICU baby.
It makes me want to cry.
Life.
It's just crazy
It's
to think
beautiful.
about. It's
beautiful. You know, this work is love. It's
liquid gold.
Yeah.
I couldn't throw out my last frozen bag. For some reason, there was a frozen bag that was at the back of the freezer that we just somehow missed. And my daughter was like 2 at the time, and we found it cleaning out the freezer. I was like, I can't throw this out. I can't do it.
Have you seen the jewelry?
I have.
Have you seen those? Yeah, some of those
Someone
are really
recommended
beautiful.
that to me. I know.
Yeah,
I know. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now I'm like that crazy mom that holds on to the teeth when the tooth fairy comes. I know. It's just so different when you think about it, because it's like the milk. I produce this milk. I worked so hard to make this milk. I didn't have a supply for the first kid, and I conquered every challenge for the second. And sure, formula shortage is what motivated me to do that. But, you know, I wasn't going to have my baby not fed. Like, I needed to do something. I was terrified. Yeah. But we did get another great question, too, from social media.
I'll say, too, before you ask that question, you know, you're talking about, you said something like fed is best earlier. And I say to families, you know, formula is, I don't know if I can say this on social. I say formula is not the F word.
I love that.
Formula is an important tool. We live in a world where we have safe drinking water, and we need formula sometimes. And so as much as I encourage families to breastfeed and encourage the villages to support the breastfeeding families, sometimes it's just not going to happen. And no matter how much support we throw at that family, whether they have had post-surgical reduction in their glandular tissue, or they have diabetes that influences their ability to make milk, or PCOS, or any of these things, sometimes an individual cannot make a full supply of breast milk. And so it's important to still talk about feeding our babies because formula is important.
Yeah, first baby for us, Logan, breastfed, first year, no problem, everything. Second kid, Christian, allergic to breast milk.
Oh.
And so we were at a point where we're like, well, what the heck do we do? And we had to go to formula because it was really the only option at that point. And, there was some guilt for my wife. She was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm doing what I need to do for this kid.
You feel like you fail.
You had to transition off of that because he needed to eat, and the stuff that he was getting was working for him, even though it smelled terrible. But it was just like, hey, he ate it up and he didn't care, and he's turned out great. So
it's a good thing that you bring up, because there's a lot of noise in the lactation world of what is true and what is not true. And I think the most important thing, just thinking about a family who might worry about infant proctocolitis or infant allergies. There are a lot of components to breast milk, and I think, a lot of parents get really worried about their baby's symptoms and kind of stop everything. I'm going to stop dairy and stop wheat and corn and shellfish. And, it's really important to kind of take a pause, find your provider who can take the time with you to understand story from pregnancy, story from birth, story from when symptoms began, and really take the time to put together the entire picture so that what you're bringing to the table gets tailored advice. Because generic advice that's actually good is few and far between. It's in all of medicine, but specifically in the lactation world, there are a lot of problems that truly need a really good history and a really good exam, and maybe even some lab tests to really understand what's going on and get the proper care. Yeah.
I think I share that story because I don't want people that don't breastfeed or can't breastfeed to feel like they failed or they're giving up. That's not the case, right? You've done what you can. You've done enough research. Your baby needs to eat, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's funny because we usually keep these podcasts to about 20 minutes. We're already at 21 minutes, but I could talk forever about this, and I love this episode, so we'll definitely have you back. But before we start to kind of wrap up, I do want to get that other social media question in because it's really important. And that is, what do you do if you think a loved one or a friend has postpartum depression?
It's such a good question. So there are a lot of answers to that question, and I'll try to put them together in a cohesive way. So I would want to make sure, my first, it's always a question back, is why do you think that person is struggling? What does that look like? And making sure that because again, a lot of people come to the fourth trimester with a lot of big feelings, and just kind of like make sure that when you come to the table with an individual who you're concerned about, that your feelings are kind of left and checked. So making sure that you're not perceiving texts, words, body language, facial expressions through the lens of your own emotions. I think a lot of maybe grandparents or aunties and uncles might receive communication in a different way because parents are exhausted and tired and scared and stressed, and so is the village. And so I would want to just first, before thinking any more about this, make sure that you kind of drop and check your own kind kind of filters with how you receive an individual who's in the fourth trimester's kind of messages to you. And then the second thing is kind of the severity. Is this individual showing signs that they are actively a threat to themselves? That's an emergency, and that requires emergency level care. So that's a 911. Hey, this individual is really unwell. They're actively, showing signs of self-harm. And so that really would need escalated quickly. In between that level of concern, we have a lot of resources in the United States and in Ohio. I think you were going to link some of those into the transcript of the podcast, but we have Postpartum Support International has a text line. There's another 24-hour text line for both parents and support individuals to say, hey, I'm really worried about this, and they can reach out to have 24/7 support. Also, there's a 24/7 breastfeeding hotline as well. It's called the Appalachian Breastfeeding Network, and we put that link in the transcript as well.
Yes. If you need it, though, the crisis text line is crisistextline.org. It's super easy to remember, crisistextline.org. Figure we say that one just in case someone's listening and needs it right away.
I don't know if you can pull up. Can you pull up that? Because
the Appalachian one or the crisis one?
No, the crisis line.
Let's see.
It's a 6-digit number, and I think you text the word. Do you see?
Oh, yeah, it's right here. Simply text home.
Yeah.
To 741741 to reach a live volunteer crisis counselor. We are always here for you, free, 24/7, confidential.
Yep. So that's a great resource for real-time, middle of the night outreach. And I think the last piece of the question is, what do I do? Because you're not just going to, reach out for help separate from that individual. And so I think the most important thing is, you've really kind of considered where you're coming to that individual at as another person. You've, made sure that that's not an emergency situation, and now you're getting ready to confront or approach or lean in or support that individual. And the most important thing is just coming to a new vulnerable person from a perspective of grace, and being able to lean in and say, hey, objectively, you haven't been responding to texts. You haven't called me back. You haven't been going on walks like you used to. You used to do this thing, every night, and, you're not doing that. Are you okay? How can I help you? What support do you need? And sometimes they are not going to be able to think about what they need. And so being able to offer, hey, can I take the kids for an hour, the older kids? Can I come do the dishes for you? Can I come fold a load of laundry or put a load of laundry away? And so just, if you have concerns, be ready to jump in and to act and to support in a really tangible, helpful way.
Great advice.
This has been a great episode. I think it's one of those that, again, like Lindsey said, we could have you on multiple times, and hopefully we will, because I think there's a lot more ground to cover. But this has been really eye-opening, I think, Dr. Tucker. So thank you so much for your passion and your expertise in this space. I know that
it gives me so much hope.
It does.
Like, you're paving new ground, and let's hope that the fourth trimester grows from here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Wellness Conversation. Before we wrap up, another note for our listeners. If there's health and wellness topics that you like us to cover, we certainly would love to hear from you. You can drop us a comment and also like and subscribe for this episode. It does help us get the word out to more listeners.
This episode transcript will also be available on the podcast page. So if you want to go back and check out those links or go back over any of the information we covered, you can find us at ohiohealth.com/thewellnessconversation. As always, thanks for joining us.